I stood in front of the mirror, studying my reflection. Everything seemed to be in order: well-groomed hair, neat makeup, and a figure that wasn't perfect, but not bad for my age. And yet, there was no fire in my eyes. "You're just overthinking it," she said when I shared my thoughts with her. "Sign up for workouts, shake it off. I have a great trainer. Young, energetic, just fire. He'll get you out of this moping." I laughed then. "Do you think I need someone waving gantels at me? You need someone to look at you again the way you deserve to be looked at." I didn't answer, but her words stuck in my head. A week later, I opened the door and saw him. Andre. He was young, tanned, wearing a tight black t-shirt that emphasized his muscles. His gaze slid over me appraisingly, but not brazenly, more like interested. "Good afternoon, Marina," he smiled, extending his hand. "Are you ready?" "Ready? For what, exactly? Training? Or something more?" "We'll see," I replied, hoping my voice sounded firm. Training started innocently. Warm-up, simple exercises. But I immediately felt that he was different. Not just an instructor who mechanically works out the hours, but a man who knows how to feel. "Let's go a little lower, back flat, like this." He stood behind me, lightly touching my lower back with the palm of his hand. His touch sent an electric current through me. I didn't even realize where the sensation had come from. Was it from the long absence of male attention? Or was it just him? "Good, well done." His voice was deep, low. It stroked my ears. I caught myself trying harder than usual. Like I wanted to show him that I wasn't just a woman in her 50s, but someone more interesting. After the workout, I looked disheveled but satisfied. He was standing in the doorway tying his shoelaces, as if nothing had happened. "Did you like it?" "Yeah. I guess I've been missing this kind of exercise for a while," I replied, tossing my hair back. "It's not just about physics, Marina." He looked at me a little longer than he should have. I didn't know exactly what he meant. But at this point, I didn't feel like figuring it out at all. I just wanted to feel alive again. I've always thought of myself as a mature, sensible woman. A woman who doesn't give in to temptation, who has no illusions and stands firmly on her feet. But Andre was turning me upside down like a house of cards. With each training session, I realized that I was more and more attracted to him. And it wasn't just how easily he moved or how confident he was in space. He looked at me differently. He saw me. Or maybe I just wanted someone to finally see me anew. "You have good posture, but your back muscles are a little weak," he said once, standing behind me and lightly touching my shoulders. "Are you just hinting, or are you already accusing?" I grinned, feeling the warmth of his hands on my skin. "I never blame women." He leaned closer, and I caught the scent of his perfume. "I just inspire them." I looked at him over my shoulder. "That's an interesting approach." "A worker," he smirked, backing away. Damn it. Why did his smile make my mouth dry? After practice, he stayed late. We were sitting in the kitchen, drinking water, and he didn't seem to be in any hurry to get anywhere. "Have you never wanted to do something crazy?" he asked suddenly. I raised my eyebrows. "Like what?" "Well, let's say, leave your usual life behind for a while and just be yourself." I wondered. "And you don't think I'm really living?" He tilted his head to the side, examining me. "I believe you have a fire inside you, but you hide it. And you are, of course, the great expert on women's inner fires?" "No. I can just see when my eyes start to burn." I wanted to laugh, to turn it into a joke. But something inside me shook. I couldn't remember the last time my husband had said something like that to me. when he'd ever looked at me the way Andre was looking at me now. "What am I supposed to do with this fire?" I asked, leaning closer to him. "Don't put it out," he replied without averting his gaze. The air between us became dense, stretching like a spider's web. I had to get up, end the conversation, thank him for the training and tell him I had to go. But I didn't do any of those things. I just stared into his eyes, and for the first time in a long time, I was wondering like hell what was going to happen next. The next practice was different. I could feel his gaze, catch his every move, almost physically feel the thin thread between us that could break at any second. "Keep your balance, Marina," he said as I did the plank. "I'm trying." "Do you like to keep a balance in your life at all?" I snorted. "You have some strange questions." "Because I'm interested in you." I froze. He said it so simply, without a shadow of embarrassment. Maybe if he'd said it differently, I would have joked, brushed it off. But he was staring straight into my eyes, not averting his gaze, and I felt something inside me finally crumble. It was inevitable. I knew I was moving in a direction from which there would be no turning back. But damn it, I wanted to know what was on the other side of the line. Let's pause for a moment. Write in the comments where you hear our stories from, whether something similar has happened to you in your life, or perhaps you have your own version of a similar story. It will be interesting to hear your thoughts. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the sequel. And now, we continue. I didn't plan anything. I really didn't. It happened on its own. Or maybe I was just talking myself into it so I wouldn't feel so guilty. We finished training later than usual. I felt a pleasant fatigue in my muscles, but something else was raging inside me: adrenaline, excitement, the feeling that something important was about to happen. "Will you stay for tea?" I asked him as he was about to leave. He grinned slightly, as if he knew that question would be asked. How can I refuse? The kitchen was warm and cozy. I opened the window to let in the night air. A light breeze ruffled my hair, but I felt a heat that had nothing to do with the weather. "Are you always this serious?" Andre asked, leaning on the table and studying me. I wondered. "You think I'm serious?" "Yes. But there's something intriguing about it." I laughed. "You mean I lack lightness?" "I'd say you lack allowing yourself to be easy." He said it so simply, but I felt his words hit something inside. "You know I'm 53, right?" I raised an eyebrow. "I know," he grinned. "And you know it only suits you, don't you?" I froze. He said it so calmly, like it was no big deal. But I could hear in his voice what I had been afraid to hear. At some point, his hand covered mine. I didn't pull away. He ran his thumb across the back of my palm slowly, as if studying the reaction. "Your hands are cold," he said quietly. I looked at him. "You're hot. Maybe it's because I work too hard. Or because you're overconfident." He smiled. "It's possible." We continued to be silent. But the silence was no longer awkward. It was filled with a tension that could have energized the electrical grid. When he approached, I didn't back down. His face was so close that I could make out the shades in his eyes. His lips opened slightly, his breathing quickened. "You know we're not supposed to do that?" I whispered. "Of course I know," he replied, but didn't pull away. I don't remember who made the first move. Maybe him. Maybe me. But when his lips were close to mine and his fingers slid over my wrist, I felt all the walls I'd built up for so long crumble. The world around me disappeared. It's just him and me. I woke up earlier than usual. For a moment I didn't realize where I was. The sheets were foreign, the smell different. But as soon as I moved, the memories came flooding back. Andre. His hands. His lips. I squeezed my eyes shut, hoping that if I didn't open them, it would all be a dream. But my body remembered. The sensation was too vivid, too real. I got out of bed, quietly, on tiptoe, as if I was afraid of waking not him myself. The part of me I didn't know. I opened the bathroom door, turned on the light, and looked in the mirror. His eyes are red, his lips are a little swollen. There was a mark on his collarbone that I hadn't noticed before. Shit. I couldn't look at myself. I turned off the light and quickly got dressed. The house was quiet. I opened the door and inhaled deeply. The house smelled like coffee and fresh bread. Oleg stood at the stove, as he did every morning, in his old t-shirt. "You're up early," he said without turning around. "Yeah, couldn't sleep." He poured coffee into cups. "Is something wrong?" I froze. No." He turned to me, gave me a look, then busied himself with the toast again. Andre looked at me greedily, with challenge, with desire. Oleg looked at me as if he had known me for a long time. Except, did I know myself? I tried to convince myself it was a mistake. Stupidity. An attack of weakness. But as soon as I closed my eyes, I remembered his breath against my neck. I remembered his hands. And I realized. I wanted him again. I went out with him a few more times. "Do you think about me when you're not with me?" he asked one day, as we sat in the car parked in an empty public garden. "I don't know." "You're lying." I grinned. "You're overconfident." "It's just that I can feel you." His hand rested on my knee, slowly, as if giving me time to refuse. But I didn't say no. I didn't know it was passion. An illusion. An escape from a boring life. But when I came home and saw Oleg, who always put a cup of coffee with 1 spoonful of sugar in front of me, just the way I liked it, I was filled with fear. Not disclosures. It's that I wasn't who I used to be. Write in the comments what you think about this story. Have you had similar situations? Your opinions are very important to us. We read every comment carefully and appreciate each of you. Don't forget to subscribe and give it a like so you don't miss out on new exciting stories. May your day be filled with only good decisions. And just so we know you're listening all the way to the end, write in the comments, the border that could not be crossed.